What are polite Illuga's biggest pros and cons? That's what I'm here to tell you today. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. The main selling point of this character, the primary reason for his existence, honestly, is the fact that he is one of Jabai's best in slot teammates. He cannot be replaced in her team, and even at C0, he is very, very good for her. You always want to be using Illuga in her team, no matter what constellation level you currently have him at, and while all of his constellations are indeed good, you don't need him to be C6 or anything like that in order for him to be good for Jabai. He is good as is, right out of the box, for the Horse Lady, because he is tailor-made for her. His kit entirely revolves around her existence, essentially. Or at the very least, he was born to walk so that Jabai could run, and he is definitely going to be one of her irreplaceable teammates going forward. So, because of this, I would say that is definitely one of his major pros, if not literally his main selling point. If you are playing this character, there is a 99% chance that you are playing the Horse Lady, because she is going to be the premier Lunar Crystallized DPS unit, and as of his release, we're not going to have any other potential Lunar Crystallized characters that are going to be anywhere near Jabai's level, not to mention that you can only acquire him through her banner. Speaking of which, that is unironically another pro of this character. He is a 4-star on her banner, and Jabai's banner is going to be stacked, because it's basically going to have a complete team for her on there. Aino, Goro, and then of course Illuga himself. So all around, not only are you going to be getting extra copies of Illuga, assuming you get lucky and are able to land the new 4-star a couple of times, you're also going to be getting other useful teammates for her. So if you get constellations for other units on that banner, it's not a waste, because they're excellent for her. Maybe the Aino constellations will be a waste if you don't have a second Lunar DPS team and you pulled for Columbina, but otherwise, those are going to be useful too. So all around, it's a great deal for you, no matter what kind of player you are, with maybe Aino losing some value in that specific instance. But considering how powerful Lunar teams are at the minute, I wouldn't be surprised if you did have a second one, and having 2 good Lunar Hydra applicators would be of excellent benefit to you. And because he's a 4-star on her banner, if you're going for Jabai constellations, you can work towards getting him to C6, and all of his constellations are pretty solid. He doesn't necessarily have some crazy power spike, he just does a lot better at C6 than he does at C0, as with any 4-star. And because Jabai's own constellations are pretty good, you just get an excellent value deal here. So all around, his banner placement is absolutely perfect. It's great that they put him on Jabai's banner. Hoyoverse definitely knew what they were doing there. And another thing is that he is free-to-play friendly because he is good at C0. Now I will say he does definitely improve with constellations, but the main point that I'm trying to make here is that, first of all, he does not need them, and while he definitely does improve with them, you definitely don't require any specific constellation in order for Illuga to be good. I will say there is a disparity between a C0 and C6 Illuga, and getting constellations for him is a good way to secure a good solid upgrade for your Jabai. Especially because I don't believe he's ever going to get replaced in her teams, so every constellation that you get for this guy is going to be a nice formidable upgrade for your Horse Lady, but he doesn't need the constellations. He is going to be more than viable at C0. He might have some energy issues about C1 and 2, but it's not really anything that you haven't seen before from a niche 4-star support like this. So all around, not only is the Horse Lady herself incredibly budget friendly, but you don't even need a ton of copies of this guy in order to get her hitting the ground running. Because the sole purpose of this guy's existence, which is to support Jabai, can be achieved even if you only have one Illuga. And because of that, I think he is fairly accessible and free-to-play friendly because he is inherently part of a free-to-play friendly team, therefore he's not really going to be that expensive to use. Now, I will obviously say you're not going to be using him anywhere else, and when I say free-to-play, I strictly mean you don't have to get constellations for him in order for him to be functional, and that you don't have to feel pressured into pulling more copies of him if you're satisfied with the amount of 5-stars that you've acquired throughout your pull session on the banner. Another thing that I should mention is that I personally believe he is going to be irreplaceable in the Jabai team, because there is one very obvious link that can be replaced, and I just don't think it's Illuga, Goro, or whoever you intend to put in the 4th slot of your Jabai team. There is an open slot for an improvement, yes, but I do not think that Illuga is going to be the character that's being replaced. He is on her banner, was tailor-made for her, and is a great budget option for her while also being one of her best in slots. There is basically no reason as to why you wouldn't play this character on her teams, because he's right there. You're gonna get at least one copy of him, unless your luck is absolutely abysmal on Jabai's banner, You will have at least one of him, and I personally don't think that he's going to be replaced very easily, because his kit is just so tailor-made for her. His existence is basically to support her, because he was made specifically for Jabai's kit, who is a very strong unit, so that is a very good thing. And it means that any constellations you manage to secure on the character are going to be great long-term upgrades for your Jabai, because there's just not going to be another character that's going to be better than him in his specific place. Maybe if we were to get another Lunar Crystallized unit down the line, they would fit into the Lunar Crystallized team, but I don't think that Illuga himself would be the replaced character. At the very least, in the worst case scenario that he does get replaced, he is always going to be a fantastic budget option for her, but the main reason as to why I think he's just not getting replaced anytime soon is because he is such a specific unit. The job and role he fulfills is so particularly tailor-made that I just can't see Hoyoverse making another character like him and replacing him. However, he does still have some flaws to his name. The most obvious one is that he is a niche character. Now, ultimately, I don't really think that's a bad thing, because Hoyoverse was very calculated with this. He was put on the banner of the character that is going to use him best, and his entire kit is designed around supporting that character. Otherwise, he is just a side character 4-star, so it is ultimately fine if he has a more niche kit, because ultimately, he fulfills his purpose very well and manages to make a 5-star feel very accessible, which I think is very nice considering that the recent Lunar DPSs have had slightly higher bars to entry. I will maybe exclude Flynn's from that because he doesn't need an FA to be good, but either way, the point stands that recent DPSs have had huge power spikes from having their respective best 5-star support, whereas Jabai isn't such a unit, Columbina is not integral to your teams, and getting a C6 Illuga is more powerful than getting one Columbina for your Jabai, assuming that you get C1 on the Horse Lady in the process. But either way, I would say him being niche is more of a flaw if you really personally like this character and are upset that he only works within this particular Lunar Crystallized team. If that's the case, then yes, unfortunately, he is quite tailor-made for a particular character, and if you don't like the Horse Lady, then you just don't really have a reason to play him, unfortunately. So okay, that can be counted as a flaw if it matters to you, but ultimately I think this is going to be somewhat of a moot point, because if you get this character, there is a very high chance that you're pulling for the Horse Lady that he is being put on the banner of. Otherwise, it is just kind of tough luck if you like Illuga but you don't like Jabai. Another thing that I should mention is that even though he doesn't need constellations to be functional, which is very nice, getting 4-star constellations in general is just a bit of a nightmare, and if you want a top performance Jabai, unfortunately her top performance is locked behind a C6 4-star. Her performance is still going to be very good even if you don't have constellations on your Illuga, I should make that very clear, but if you want her top performance, you're gonna have to be willing to get C1 or even C2, because it is unlikely that with a new 4-star release like this, you're going to get C6 from one pull session, going all the way from no copies to C0. Maybe if you lose your 50-50 and it takes you a lot of pulls to get the character, that is possible, but I wouldn't bet on it. You just can't guarantee that you're gonna get as many copies as you want. So, all around, his constellations are not necessary, but I know that you may be wanting the best possible performance for your Jabai, and maybe that C6 is tempting you. To that I say, honestly, just go for C2 Illuga so that he can be more comfortable to play, and then just leave it at that for now if you have enough Jabai copies and you're happy with that. I will say she has a good C1, and going for her C1 is not a bad idea, but if you win all of your 50-50s, which I hope you do, good luck, that gives you even less opportunity to go and get the 4-star. If you get her early, same thing, and the list goes on. So there is honestly a long enough list of opportunities in which you would not get a C6 Illuga. So keep that in mind, and don't get too ambitious with cons unless you have a ton saved and you're willing to all in on Jabai. And that's another thing that I should mention, his energy economy is just more comfortable if you have C1 and C2. It's nothing that you should get in a twist over. He is ultimately going to be Jabai's best teammate regardless of this, but it is still something worth mentioning, so I would say that if you're really determined on getting some copies of him, go for at least C2, or even just try and snag up that C1. Ultimately, this character is what it says on the tin. He is, by all accounts, a great Jabai support. His entire existence revolves around the Horse Lady, and the Horse Lady alone. I don't really think he is going to gain more use cases in the future because I have already said in the past, I personally believe that Holyverse is going to be done with lunar reactions by the time we're finished with Not Cry, and the Horse Lady is our lunar crystallized DPS. Maybe there is a chance that we get another lunar crystallized support down the line. I don't really think that Illuga slot is going to be the one that gets replaced though. There is a chance of it, it's not non-zero, but I will say that it's highly unlikely, because there is another non-Nod Cry slot currently available in Jabai's teams that very much could be filled up by another 6.x character. So he's good, but he is very much good within the confines of this particular main DPS, and if you're not interested in her, well then chances are you're probably not going to be interested in playing this character either. Otherwise, he's not really anything to write home about, and he is going to be very good for a specific number of accounts that are planning to pull the horse. Otherwise, nothing much else to add about him, other than I liked him in the story. Hopefully this video was able to tell you Illuga's biggest pros and cons. This has been Juice, signing out, and I think my favorite fun fact about this guy is that he likes to bring Flynn's food. What a chill guy.